Welcome back to the Huntech Pro Podcast with me, Johan Smit, as your host. We want to give a huge shout out to our presenting sponsor today, My Trophy Room. Preserve your proudest moments with the app's seamless photo features designed to display your hunting trophies like never before. Download My Trophy Room from Google Play or Apple App Store. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on social media under Huntech Pro. Whether you're a seasoned hunter, an inspiring outdoor enthusiast, or someone who simply loves the thrill of adventure, you're in the right place. Join us as we bring you exciting stories from the wild, expert insights into hunting and shooting gear, and a front row seat to some of the most exhilarating hunts around the globe. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready to immerse yourself into the world of Huntech Pro, where every hunt has a story, and every story is worth sharing. Let's get started. Guys, thanks for joining us on today's podcast. I've got a very interesting person that we're going to chat with today. I had the privilege of hunting with him back in 2022, and that's when they came to launch their rifle in South Africa. So the person I'm talking about is Ricardo Olivieri from Beretta. Ricardo, thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here. It's been quite a long time. 2022 feels like a lot of things have happened after that.
Yeah, it was so amazing, when one of the importers asked me to come and film that trip for them. It was so amazing for me actually to know that I'm going to be hunting with Beretta and getting to meet the whole team. And it was an epic journey for me, So when I met you, obviously, in Limpopo on the concession we were hunting, I was very excited to find out that you were the guy that actually designed the BRX rifle.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I have to give credit where credit is due. I'm not the only person that designed the rifle. I was the product manager at the time of Beretta Italy, and I was managing everything that had to do with shotguns, semi-autos, and the rifle, which is not the first per se Beretta rifle, but at the same time it is, because it's the first time Beretta is producing a rifle completely inside the Beretta factory for big game hunting. So that is, let's say, the major thing. And of course, we did it the Beretta way. It's like something that had to be different with a lot of cool features and some innovative solutions where possible. So yeah, I was the guy telling basically the engineers how to do things, how the hunter would behave, and just try to be that line of communication between the end user and the engineering side, and also being the person that was doing or pushing the compromises that we had to take, because as you know, it's like you always if you give here, you're going to have to let go somewhere else. So, but overall, I think it came out a pretty good product. So you test it, you tell us.
Yeah, I remember that day. I think Mark went in to collect Carlo, if I'm not mistaken, and we were left at the ranch with the BRX, and we decided, well, let's go test it out at 400 yards. And within 3 shots, I shot a clover grouping with a 300 Win Mag. I was amazed to see the accuracy of that rifle.
Yeah, I mean, it's we did pay a lot of attention. I mean, one of the things is the rifle had to be accurate. It's like, and by accurate, I mean had to be below 1 MOA with most of the ammunition that you can find as a regular consumer now. It's guaranteeing always that is difficult, because you can do as much as you can with the rifle, but if the ammunition is not there, we don't make the ammunition, or at the time we weren't making any ammo, so it's difficult. But what we've been seeing is that the rifles are very accurate, and it took us a lot of time to develop that, also because of the construction. But we'll get into that later.
So tell me, where did your passion start with getting into firearms, and where did your journey start?
Since I have memory. So long story short is my father, he became a hunter when he was, let's say, older, but I wasn't born yet. So when I was born, he was already going hunting. So I started hunting with him, but he's been always a big, let's say, duck hunter, or in general, we're talking about small game or wing shooting type of sport. So I started my career as Beretta, it's mainly shotguns. So that's how I started. And I started, let's say, as usual, when I was able to hold an air rifle or a BB gun, I started with that and grew up all the way up to be using, let's say, 300 Winchester Magnums and these type of rifles that I have behind me. My first, let's say, big firearm was a 12 gauge that I started shooting at 9-year-olds. Looking back, probably that was a little too early for me because I still wasn't, let's say, not strong enough to handle the recoil, even with the lower, let's say, cartridges. So I can say I've been shooting since 9 years old. So it's over 20 years now that I've been in the shooting. And as soon as I started shooting, I also started, let's say, shooting sporting clays competitively. And so I've been in the competitive arena on clay shooting for over 20 years. And it was the rifle actually one of the most recent things that I started doing. So everything evolved from there. So at some point, my father was able to take us also to Africa hunting. And once we started hunting, before getting to Africa, our journey started back where I was born in Venezuela, born and raised over there. So we started hunting whatever we could hunt on the area with rifle, which there are some species that you could hunt. There's also some water buffaloes in some places that they are imported, but it's just to simulate the type of African game that you could get. So that's where we started. And after I was bitten by that mosquito, it was no turning back.
So you started from a very young age and you got into competitive shooting. At what time did you start working on the BRX project?
The BRX project, I started working as soon as I joined Beretta. So I grew up and studied all, let's say, my young life in Venezuela up until I graduated from university. Then the situation of the country was what it was, and I decided just to try my luck abroad. I had a couple of opportunities, went to England, stayed there for a couple of years, and then I ended up in Beretta. Now, the connection is we already had a connection in Venezuela with Beretta, but I never thought they would have considered someone like me to join the factory. So I had my background. I'm a mechanical engineer. So as soon as I joined the factory, I'm like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. And it's like, I don't know if you've been to the factory, but, when you get over there, it's like, walking into NASA or something like that. You're like, wow, it's impressive. And even still today, when I go there occasionally, it's kind of majestic place. So as soon as I started, like the next day, they said, oh, you're going to be product manager for shotgun and hunting, but there's a project for you, which is a rifle. I'm like, wow. I mean, I need to learn everything about shotguns, and now I'm going to get into a rifle. I don't know nothing about rifles. I mean, I've shot, I've hunted, I knew a little things, but it was not my let's say, cup of tea, to put it that way. On shotguns, yes, absolutely. We can talk about reloading, making stocks, whatever you want. I was, let's say, pretty well based on that side of the firearm, let's say, world. But when it came to rifles, I had a lot to learn. And it was that was in 2015. So the project started in 2015. Some other, let's say, persons prior to me kind of like worked around it, but it was like one of those projects that nobody wanted to touch because it was a very delicate thing, and nobody wanted to be part of, a rifle that wasn't going to be successful under the Beretta name. But I think I had no choice, and sometimes having no choice is the best choice you can have. So just, sleeves up and started working. And after 7 years of, a lot of going back and forth, trying different things and starting from the platform that, was invented by, the whole concept was invented by a very famous firearm engineer that worked for us for a long time. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he was a brilliant person. And what I did is like I took his idea of the working mechanism and then started applying everything that a hunter would need on it. And as you know, this takes a lot of time because you're testing, you need to do. There's many other projects going at the same time. So 7 years might seem like something, let's say, extremely long in the product development. It was longer than what we expected, but at the same time, working for a factory like Beretta, it's time at this, let's say, point wasn't the issue. I mean, they wanted me to make sure that the rifle was going to go out, let's say, perfectly according to everything that we could have at the time. And we did a lot of focus group. We tested the rifles in many areas. So we sent rifles in different prototyping stages along the process. And, it takes time just when you send the rifle, take it back, do the testing, what is going on, find what is the problem, think of a solution, doesn't work. And that's how you keep trying and everything. But it's all done on a structured way. And of course, it takes time. That's it.
What was your concept and vision behind the BRX? Was there like key features you guys had had to keep in mind when you started designing it?
So, well, the key concept was like following all the Beretta, let's say, rules for any product. First of all, it needs to be a safe product. If it's not 100% safe, that it's like safe above the regular standards, we simply are not going to do it. And that's the same thing with our shotguns, with our pistol, and that's our DNA. The second thing is they have to be, of course, everything a rifle needs to have. So it's the quality of the rifle. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be look good. It needs to work in any condition. And then, of course, the Beretta DNA, it's basically, if you see all our, let's say, product line from the pistols, the PX4, the 92, the Silver Pigeon over and under shotguns and everything, they are, let's say, firearms, very similar to other competitors. But if you start looking a little bit, from the surface, you will notice immediately there's a lot of, let's say, different solutions that we use, and we try to make them work the best we can. So one of the greatest example, what put Beretta, let's say, into the world map was the 92. It's that particular design of the open slide and everything. So that is all done on purpose. We could do other designs, and bear in mind, it's like we take ideas from other people, from other inventors. Not that we're trying to reinvent the wheel all the time, but what we try to do is take different ideas that work and combine them together into a package that is very good, and it works with everything. So the concept of the rifle started being from the third world. I kind of have and like you and many of the guys in South Africa, my vision was like, this rifle is not going to be sold only in Italy. If you're in Italy, it's easy. You go to a factory, you get it fixed. But for us, getting a rifle fixed, it can be, the decision about purchasing the rifle or not, simply because it's you want a quality. No wonder why products like a Toyota car, they're very popular in the third world. I mean, they always run. They never fail. So kind of like my idea when I started putting some input into the project was basically like that. So I always was a fan of Toyota, and I said, like, listen, this needs to be something like in the sense similar to the concept of a Toyota car. It needs to. It's probably not going to be the fastest, it's not going to be the most comfortable, it's not going to be most of the thing, but it's always going to run. It's going to be accurate. It's going to be, the rifle that, if you need something, you're sure that you can take that rifle. It's not going to fail on you. That was the peace of mind. And especially because the system that we have on the rifle is not the regular bolt action. We went with a, let's say, straight system, a kind of straight pull system, or like we like to call it, like a modern repeating rifle. So that is only one of the things that we did on the rifle. But we had to make sure that from the consumer and user point of view, the product quality stays behind the brand that it's made from. And as Beretta, that is something that we take very seriously.
It is really a great idea you guys went with, because let's say we're hunting in the middle of Zimbabwe or up in Africa somewhere, and you really need your rifle to work, and there's a problem with it, and there's just a local gun store. If you guys went with all the high-tech stuff, it's something that would have been a problem. But I remember when you showed us how that straight pull action works and the lug system. Can you you've got one of the rifles there with you. Can you run us through that?
Right next to me. So this is one of my personal ones. It's a 6.5 Creedmoor. Let me just take the optic, and then we'll talk about all the different accessories that we have. But basically, the main thing about the rifle was, it needs to run all the time. And as we were saying, you're in Zimbabwe, that's exactly the type of scenario. I mean, I always was thinking worst case scenario, where would be, the most unlikely place that I'll be using this? Probably, I don't know, in Tajikistan or Zimbabwe or South America, where, it's difficult to get parts for the rifle and all that. So one of the things that I had to do was think of, okay, if we're going to have this platform, it needs to be something that is easy to fix. So that is where, the cool thing about working with Beretta is that at the same time that we have people that are winning Olympic medals, we're working with special forces, with people that are world champions in shotgun shooting, pistol, practical shooting, whatever. So you get all these minds combined together that work under the same roof. So you get a lot of, let's say, cross-contamination in the positive way from all these worlds. And one of the things I say is like, listen, these parts, this rifle needs to be designed with a military mentality. So it's like an AK or like an AR, an army rifle. part interchangeability among all of them. So that was one of the things. We need to figure out a part, that all the parts can be interchangeable on the rifle. Why? Because the parts that are not considered gun parts in many countries that are easy to fix, that is something cool. And when it's also easy to fix, it also leaves you room for upgrades in the future. So, for example, we have the magazines and the trigger group and everything that we have on the rifle. It's designed on purpose to be 100% interchangeable among all the different BRXs that we have currently. Now, this, of course, is just the start, but we have things like the trigger group, just for example, that it's something that you can take out of the rifle. And worst case scenario, you break it, whatever it is, you just buy a new one, put it in, go. You don't have to do any fitting. You don't need a gunsmith. That's the whole someone that it's like a guy, like a professional hunter in anywhere in Africa will have the basic skills and knowledge to fix the rifle over there. Because once you are in Zimbabwe, in the Zambezi, in the middle of nowhere, and the rifle breaks, if you have the spare parts, you're probably going to fix it. If you have a second rifle, maybe you can make one work. If both of them go down, you can use all the parts to combine in one. And it's basically the same, let's say, logistic approach that the military has. It's like and then of course there's the caliber, let's say, the different calibers that we offer on the rifle. It's 100%, let's say, interchangeable also between calibers. The only thing you need to do is change the bolt head depending on the caliber if needed. Ambidextrous, so that is another thing. So the system was very, let's say, interesting because it gave us the possibility to have a rifle that was completely ambidextrous. So without any tools, in no time, you can just remove some of the parts of the rifle, the bolt head. You can just also remove the bolt handle, and you can transform the rifle from a right-handed, let's say, configuration into left-hand configuration in basically no time. And I'm sure you guys have seen this a lot of times on the internet. So it's I don't want to spend too much time on going on that, but the thing is, we need to offer, let's say, a rifle that was at an affordable price, that is not a bolt action, that has all these cool features, all this room for improvement, all these capabilities that you don't find at that price point, with a very high level of quality. The closest thing that we got at the time was the European straight pulls, but usually they start from a price point which is usually double of what we have. I know just Mauser recently launched a new one, but they're still, let's say, at the higher price point than what we offer this rifle, also guaranteeing the quality of the Beretta name, which is, the reliability, the safety, the accuracy. So the mentality was like that. It needed to be like a Hilux. I mean, it worked everywhere. You go anywhere, you find the spare parts, and with a few tools, it's you'll make it run. And if you see the news around the world, if there's let's say some army or some, let's say, guerrilla group or something, probably they're on top of a Toyota running around.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome to hear, man. I was like very impressed when I saw that rifle for the first time. And after shooting it, to feel the balance on that rifle, you guys put a lot of time into figuring out where the weight must be distributed in that rifle, how easy that safety system works, how easily it is to convert that rifle from right-handed to left-handed. And that's a lot of the problems you sit sometimes when working with international hunters, because most of the people are right-handed, but then you get a client that is left-handed. Most guys that are left-handed have taught themselves to shoot with a right-handed rifle. But now you can quickly just convert that bolt within a few seconds. You can convert it from left to right, and you can choose which side the case must eject. So that's very cool.
That's exactly right. And the thing is, for example, my brother is left-handed. So if you're a father and you have a kid that is left-handed, you can easily, get your rifle and make it work for him. The other thing is, like on regular, let's say, production and factories, doubling your number of SKUs or variants for only 10% or 15% of the population. It's something that probably nobody does, because it's just you're always from a business perspective aiming at the bigger target, in this case, to put it that way, without getting too much into details. What happens is, like most of the left-hand shooters, they either have to go to a custom rifle or they have to choose whatever it's available on the left hand, let's say, world, in case of a bolt action. With this one, it's like any configuration that you can have on the right-handed, you will 100% be able to put on the left-hand configuration. So that's a huge deal. Then things like, the resale value of the gun. It's like it's try to sell a left-hand rifle if you're a lefty. I mean, it's like your chances get reduced by a lot in case you want to do that. There's a lot of reasons. Now, going back to the balance, for example, that is something that we took directly from the Olympic shooters. And the balance in guns is very important, from pistols to rifles to whatever, because the way the weight is distributed in the gun will affect the recoil and how the masses travel with the impulse when the gun is fired. And so the better the balance of the rifle to be what we define as where the center of gravity and how it's distributed along the shape of the rifle, it will impact in a positive or in a negative way the handling and the recoil management. So most of the weight that we have in this rifle is concentrated, let's say, closely or between the hands as much as possible. And this is also something extremely important on shotguns, because if the weight is not distributed correctly, the shotgun is gonna recoil in a very snappy and not good way. So that is going back to what I said before, knowing these type of shooters, me coming from some of the things that we knew that were necessary, that were positive in this world, we try to implement them here just to give an overall. And you saw it. I mean, you told me that when you shot the 300 Win Mag without a break, the rifle it still recoils, but the recoil is more manageable and less, let's say, annoying recoil that you would get from some other rifles that are incorrectly balanced, or like some of the entry-level bolt actions that are front heavy. That whip is gonna, let's say, give you a bad sensation on the recoil. That combined with the shape of the stock, how you put it, all those things combined together, it will help you with the management of the recoil.
Now, that was one of the stuff I was very impressed with. I remember the day Mark called us and said we must come film the rifle for the launch. And my wife was the first lady in Africa to shoot with that rifle. And
oh yeah, I remember that.
And Mark said, "Well, it's a 300 Win Mags." Like, I'll ask him, "Well, where's the muzzle brake and where's the silencer for this rifle?" He says, "We're not going to need it." I'm like, "What?" Okay. And he put up we went to the range and he shot the first shot at 400 yards. He hit the gong. And then he told my wife, "Okay, it's her chance." And she took a shot at 400 yards and she hit it. And then Mark's like, "Okay, Johan," said, "It's your turn now," And I said, "Okay." Got the cameras rolling, and he's just before I shoot, he says, "Johan, remember now, he took a shot at 400 yards, he didn't miss. My wife took a shot at 400 yards, he didn't miss. I mustn't be the first guy to miss with this rifle at 400 yards. Like, yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for the pressure, And I took the shot and I hit the gong. But that is how accurate that rifle is, and how easily it is to control that recoil. I mean, it feels like a 308 you're shooting.
Yeah, it's and that is without any muzzle device. Now, once you start adding suppressors and muzzle device, it's very manageable. And bear in mind that the weight of the rifle is 3.3 kilos. That's 7.4 pounds, more or less, in poundage. And my entire setup that I have right here with this very big, shout out to Burris XTR Pro. This is one of the best scopes I've used. The entire weight of my rifle, it's shyly over 10 pounds. So, which is, it's not a light rifle, but it's not on the heavy end. It doesn't make the cut quite to the super light rifles that people, especially in the US, use for hiking and everything. But let's put it this way. Out of the box, if you put an optic on this one and you go hunting, it's like, yes, it could be lighter. We're for sure going to make some lighter versions, but it's, let's say, light enough to, hike around the mountains and do 10, 15 kilometers a day without the rifle having to be, carrying that big anchor on your back when you're just running and chasing game.
Now, tell me, before you guys came over here to South Africa to do the launch, was there a lot of testing and refinement you guys had to do on the BRX?
Yes, a lot. And one of the things that, for example, we did is like after we find out, we hammer forge on one of the things Beretta is known for is making barrels, and we took this very seriously, also going into the rifle. So we started hammer forging everything on the on all the barrels of the BRX. So when we say hammer forge, is not only many manufacturers, they only do the rifling and they drill the chamber. So basically, one of the reasons that it took longer for us is because we were hammer forging the rifling and the chamber together out of one piece. So you put the stock, the piece of steel tube in the hammer forging machine, and it will just come out, let's say, a barrel rifle, at least with the internal profile all made, chamber included. And this is very important, especially from people like you that reload and people who like to shoot long range, because you have 100% concentricity between the chamber and the bore, which results also in better accuracy, in a more efficient, let's say, barrel, in the terms that the barrel life is going to be longer and the construction is different. So this helps on the long way. So we, on that topic, we spent a lot of time. We hammer forged the entire chamber of 300 Win Mag, 308, of course, because they're also very similar to military calibers that we already do, 6.5 Creedmoor, and all the other calibers that we have so far. In the beginning, we were only manufacturing the three essential, let's say, calibers that everybody's known for, the 300, 308, and 3006. 6.5 Creedmoor came just right after that one, and basically because those are, let's say, the most common calibers that you're going to find on any hunting. And yes, I know there's many new calibers, many new stuff, but one of the problems with the new calibers is that they are launched and you don't know how long they're going to last in the market. So the 6.5 Creedmoor is one of the ones that stuck because of the new technology and evolution on the bullet design. But in countries like, in Africa and some other places around the world, and still in Europe, the old calibers like 3006 and 308, they're still king. I mean, they're still dominating. 300 Win Mag is right in the top 10 list always. Calibers like 223, which we're working on, will be available. But it takes a lot of time. And one of the things that people, complain about, and rightfully, but I think it's because they don't know, is why it takes so much time. Well, when we were testing, for example, the fitting, we have two different magazines for 308 and 6.5. And that is because we try to buy as many different types of commercial ammunition that we can find in Europe and abroad. And then we do fitting testing with all those ammunition. So the idea is just to try the full range of weight of the possible bullets that you can put on the gun to have the gun fitting reliably. And that is one of the most difficult things to nail almost to perfection in any rifle. It's when a rifle is fitting correctly and you don't have any problems or jammings, regardless of the speed and the angle that you're doing it, it means that it's a good job. But that takes a lot of time and a lot of testing, because you have to do that per every caliber. And if you have a problem, then you need to test again. And it's just, the team that we were working on the rifle, it wasn't many people, but, we were full all the time, because there's always testing. There's always these, let's say, things that we're going to do. And the other thing is, like, every time you change something here, you have to check that, down the river, you don't have any other problems that might arise. So it's always, very, very meticulously doing small changes, making sure that everything worked. And at the end of the day, the product resulted in a good way. One of the other things, like when we were designing the rifle, we knew that since we were going to have a double stack type of, let's say, magazine with 5-shot capacity, we were going to be able, or we designed the rifle also to be able in the future to accept the SR25 magazines these are Magpul PMags for 308 and 6.5. So we designed an adapter that you just basically put on top of the magazine, and you can, let's say, also use a bigger magazine. So, but all those things are being tested in the factory by someone, and that takes time. And I wish we were faster, but at the same time, you don't want to make things too fast, because if you have a problem, then people are not going to buy it. And honestly, I mean, of course, there's some small hiccups and issues here and there, but generally speaking, as a manufacturer, put it this way, everything is controlled. And as long as, the quality problems remain under a certain small percentage, you can say that the product is successful. Of course, I'm not saying that 100% of the rifles are going to be perfect, but we just work trying to make all of them as perfect as we can.
Yeah, but I can say that the times I've shot with the BRX, I'm super impressed about the way you guys put that rifle together. You can feel its quality you're shooting. You can know that the Beretta name is on that, so that gives you the peace of mind. You're shooting a quality rifle, and it helps for you now to describe that why you guys go take all these routes, why you prepared, why do you guys forge your barrels and all that kind of stuff, is to make sure that the gun is accurate and to make sure it's balanced and to make sure it's safe. Those are all features that is really important for me as a hunter to know. Okay, I can trust this rifle when I'm buying it. When you guys launched it, did you guys launch it here in South Africa first, or was it globally?
We launched it first in Europe. South Africa was right after that because we wanted, of course, it's like when you're talking about big game hunting, I think the capital of big game hunting is South Africa in general. There's very good hunting in Europe, and we had a very, let's say, successful launch in Europe. I mean, it was a product at the right price point with the right features. And honestly, I mean, we were overwhelmed by the orders, and in the beginning, we just didn't launch everywhere because we couldn't keep up with orders. And bear in mind, like in the first 3 years, we sold over 50,000 units in Europe without having even launched Europe and the rest of the world, without even considering the US, which is probably the biggest market in the world for hunting. And that's a big number for us. I mean, some other companies like, big giants like Ruger and other, let's say, American companies will dwarf that number by a long, let's say, by a long lead. But, it's for us at the price point that we were, it was a very successful project. And, it was basically Beretta entering for the first time in the big game market. And we're not going to, just leave it at there. We're just going to keep evolving the rifle like we do with all our products. So it was a pretty successful, let's say, launch. Then when we launched it in Africa, we launched basically what was the European configurations. And honestly, I've been hearing a lot of feedback from guys in Africa, and some. Actually, I was not long ago at the Safari Club International Convention in Nashville, and a guy walked up to me and I think he recognized me from a video or BRX or something, and he's just like, guys, I'm very happy about your product, because he's an outfitter, and he says, like, now all my clients, I have 3 rifles, 3 different calibers, and they don't have to bring their rifle. And some of them are very happy because in 2 seconds, I can change, the butt pad of the rifle, which are the same ones that we have. So you can change everything on the rifle and adapt it very well to a client without the use of any major tools. You just need to be prepared to have all that in your camp before you go. So basically, it's easier for the client and more convenient. So why not use this type of advantages also from, on the business to business side of things, just to make happy a customer that wants to have the African experience. But, traveling with guns is getting more and more difficult every year. It's, they always look you in a certain way. There's always, troubles, depending on the airports, the permits, and, it can be kind of annoying and also a deterrent sometimes for traveling, for hunting. But if you know that, okay, the guy has these rifles, I can go over there and everything is good, why not? You can adjust the trigger weight. You can do a lot of things, left hand, right hand. And systems like, for example, this one that we have, which is also made by Beretta, we have some Picatinny rails are interchangeable on the top of the rifle. So you can go, for example, from this type of scope, which is a 530, to a 1-4, depending on the type of hinge you're going to be changing. And these things, let's say, adapters that we sell in Italy, I'm not sure they're available in Africa, but it's a matter of the distributor asking for them. They're available. You can switch between optics without losing zero. And that's something also very important. Now, it's not a cheap product, but you're not losing zero, which is important. So depending on the type of hunt you're going to do, if you want to really shoot far, I mean, you can change your optic, or maybe the person has, uses some correction glasses or something. So having all this possibility to be flexible, it's always a good thing.
When you heard that you guys are coming to South Africa and you're going to launch the rifle here, how did you feel when you actually knew you're going to go hunt with that rifle now in Africa? And just take me through that journey.
Well, of course, it's pride has to do a lot with it, because, after many years, it's like going to Africa. It's like, wow. And not only that, we were going to Africa, even if I wasn't expecting to be, one of the shooters, but it's just being there. It's always a good thing. It's like it is a dream job at the end of the day. It's like I'm working in something that I like. So I'm very grateful that to have the opportunity to do that. When we went to Africa, I have to be honest, I wanted everything to be perfect. So I think we had a good team between Mark from Normark and you guys and Hannah Lodge and everything. I think we did a very good job. What people don't understand, and because I went through the same thing in Europe, is one thing is making a video for launching the rifle. The other one is you're really chasing real wild animals, and you also need to film. It's the animals, they don't cooperate often, so you have to you need someone that knows the camera, that knows that he's a hunter. So, and coordinating all that is not easy. So, but it was very nice. The property where we were, it's most of the properties in Africa are fenced, but this one was huge. I remember. So it just these animals, let's say they gave us a lot of trouble because it has. I mean, we knew there were these type of animals, and we wouldn't see them or find them, and it was just. It's at the end of the day, it was as realistic of a real hunt that you can get. And chasing planes game at the end of the day, it was very cool. We did some pretty cool shots, regardless of what people comment here and there. But being over there and making it happen, it's a different thing. And I think the rifle performed well. We were with a couple of other professional hunters, and they all were happy about and impressed about what the rifle could do. Now, of course, in Africa, we're missing the 375, which might come soon. We don't know.
No, that's good to hear.
That's something that we knew since the beginning. It's just it takes time, as I said. And for South Africa, in this case, we were focusing only on plains games because obviously, for legal reasons, you cannot hunt dangerous game with smaller calibers than 375. But for what we were planning and what we did, I think it went well. People were happy. I mean, it's like I was more, let's say, afraid of what the actual users were going to say and testing the rifle and everything. And we didn't have issues with the rifles, so that was a cool thing. And even though those were prototypes, I have to remind also that the ones that we sent over there to Africa, due to all the permits and everything, we had to send some of the initial production, which were almost like some parts were still prototypes, and we still made it. So that shows that we were in the right track. And at the same time, while we were launching and doing the videos, I was doing also reports on the field of how the rifle was behaving, taking notes. And as you saw, because shooting in a range and making small groups, and it's one thing, but when you have to go over there and shoot and actually use the rifle, and it's going to get dirty and a lot of dust and this and that, you need to check that everything is working, and it did. And you remember, we treat the rifles in a pretty rough way, and they just perform.
No, what I remember from one of the hunts said, I think it was your warthog. And that's why I saw that straight pull action and how great it worked. It was running away and you quickly put in 2 shots within a second. It's like, what the hell? How quickly does this rifle reload,
Yeah, that was, wow. I remember that. Yes, it was a running board. What was like 200 meters?
Yeah.
We were over a riverbed, and you can maybe put the video on the podcast.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but I do remember that. That's one of the good things about this rifle, specifically with this system is, and you saw it, and then I rediscovered over there, is like the shooting and the management of the recoil was very good. And when I was reloading with this straight type of, let's say, system, you're basically not canting the rifle anywhere. You're just pulling back and forth, so you are reacquiring the target much faster. And this is something that we said all the time, but we were able to prove it there. And yeah, and both. I mean, I think the first shot was a kill shot, but he was still running, and the second one I stopped it before having to lose the animal. And that's another thing. Most people say, it's like, I've been in Germany with some hunters, and they are like, "Oh, you're supposed to one shot, one kill." Like, yeah, but the game you're hunting always has a say on the hunting. So ideally, that's the goal. But we all know, especially in Africa, that these animals are very difficult to take down, and usually they require, generally speaking, more than one shot, sometimes even more than 2. So a warthog, I remember with the 3006 Sierra Game King 165, which is let's say kosher round for hunting. This thing kept running like nothing, and you don't want to wound game and lose them, because that's not the point. So I did remember that was I actually forgot about that one, but you were right. I mean, because you were right behind me. We were running and filming, and he was cool, because like in any hunting situation, we were going back, and then we saw this warthog, so we had to basically run to try to catch him in front, and we did. That was, I mean, that's hunting. That's how it goes usually.
Yeah, and I remember the other animal that you shot was a kudu just before it started to rain. That was also very special.
Yeah, it's and the thing is, we spent the whole week looking for kudu, and now you read on all the books from the old ones from Ruark and Taylor and whatever, and all these famous professional hunters, and they always talk about the gray ghost, and I'm like, well, I don't know, I've seen kudus before, but I've never hunted them, so this was like a very cool opportunity, and I wasn't gonna miss it, but we saw a lot of kudus, but we couldn't find. I mean, it's hard to get close to them, especially when they reach a certain age. They're not stupid, and it was incredible how they would just vanish out of nowhere. I mean, it was there, then you look at it, and it was that was well, again, hunting. We looked for them for a week. We would see them from hundreds of yards away, and we try to close in, and they would always, something will happen. Because 5 guys chasing the bull, the camera guy plus the professional hunter, it's difficult. So, but at the end of the day, we're able to do it. Yeah, I remember that. That was one of the, let's say, the highlights of the trip for sure.
I'll definitely post some links for the people to go watch. That episode again was on season 3 of season 3, episode 8, that we've got that hunt with the Beretta group. But yeah, after that, you moved to the USA. How was that transition for you?
Well, I mean, I've lived so far in 4 countries, so the transition is always a little bit bumpy in the road. You need to get used to the culture. It's a new place, new people, but you know what? I just I kind of like it, and I look for it now. I would like to get a little bit more stable and stop hopping around different countries. But I never say no. I don't take anything as an absolute yes or no, because if there's an opportunity, why not? And I lived in Italy, and I lived in England. Now I'm living in the US, and I've hunted and shot in all those places. So I'm very fortunate to be able to say that I've probably shot in shooting grounds in the 5 continents, and I've hunted in 4 continents already. So it's as I said before, mostly in part thanks to Beretta. So I'm very happy to work for this company.
Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, I'm also one of those guys that will, if there's opportunity, I'll jump on it, because you never know what other doors can open. But I'm really glad that the USA is working great for you, and that you are still continuing to grow in what you guys are doing over there, So do you guys have any upcoming developments in your lineup? Like I know we did talk about the 375, but is there other projects you guys are working on?
Well, I can't confirm nor deny, because these are let's say products. There's a big list. Of course, for the African market, 375 is what makes sense. 223, it's also another caliber that makes sense. Some of the modern calibers. So we are always cooking something. Not only on the rifle side, but also on the shotguns, on the pistols. And the next year is going to be the 500th anniversary of Beretta, officially. Wow. It's going to be the 3rd of October. The oldest, let's say, document that testifies the Beretta as a factory is from the 1526. So, and it's always been run by the same family. And by the way, it's like the current, let's say, heir of Beretta, to put it this way, the 16th generation was with us hunting, and he was hunting also with the BRX, and he had a ton of fun. Or of course, he was on a different, let's say, he wasn't working, he was just having fun. We were just doing all the work. But it's just to prove that these let's say, people are very in tune with the user, how the products are made, and they really take care, and they go to the factory every day, and after 500 years they're still there. I mean, some people would consider they don't need to be there because they are wealthy or whatever, but they still go there every day, and it's also, I think it's important. It's very cool, and always people are happy to see that the owner is always there with their people.
Yeah, no, that was very cool for me to meet Carlo on that hunt as well. So, but it's amazing to still know that the family is running the business. So it shows you how important that is for their family as well. But no, Ricardo, when is our next trip together, man? We must make a plan.
Listen, I'm saving money. I want to make another trip to Africa. I've been in contact with Mark, so we'll definitely make it happen. I just need to sort some things out, but it's this time it will be a longer trip. It's gonna be only hunting, no working, just having fun and with some good people that I know. So for sure, you're gonna be on that list. So
Can't wait for that, man. It's less stress on the getting the work done, but having more fun is always the memories we have. But you know, if it's not for the videos and stuff, we can't go show the people back home what really happened. You know.
correct. Yeah. So
I've seen a lot of videos of your on your social media that you shoot a lot of clay and stuff. What would you say is a more passion for you to shoot the clay, or do you like to shoot more with a rifle?
I grew up shooting sporting clays, and I'm good at it. And I still try to shoot as much as I can competitively because I really like it. But I've also, let's say, deep dived since I started with the rifle. I've also deep dived a lot into the rifle world, and as you can see, that's one of the other toys that I have back there. It's a Sacco TRG. So I've been getting into long range shooting, just try to understand everything. I would like to get also into reloading, but I just like to shoot, man. Like whatever. I mean, even pistol. I just I have the possibility, and why not take advantage of that? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's part work, but it's also part personal. So I always say to people, if I'm lucky to be able to be in a position where my work is also one of my passions, sometimes that is not the best thing, but in this case, I've been able to manage it, let's say, the right way. And listen, it's like the moment I get bored from rifle, I'll just take the shotgun, or I'll take the pistol, or bow and arrow, whatever. So that it's also one of the things. I would say sporting clay is still my preference, but on the rifle side, there was a lot of things to learn that it just got my interested very quickly because it's something new, and it's good because it doesn't make it that let's say monotone type of sport and everything. You can go here and there, and some of the things that you learn from rifle you maybe can apply them to shotgun and vice versa. And I'm always experimenting, and also being I shoot I'm a master class shooter in the US, so in sporting clays. So every time I was born as a clay shooter, and I always make fun of the rifle shooters because shooting a stationary target it's kind of boring to me. It's like that's the only thing I don't like. So, but there's some places here where you can shoot moving targets or you can hunt and everything. So that makes it better. But on the serious note, it's just there's a lot of things that you can use from one world to the other one, and I've seen that also my clay game has improved as well as my rifle game because of this cross, let's say, skills that I try to do. And when I do things, I just try to experiment as much as I can from a personal side, but also applicable on the professional. Simply because it's tried always to look for perfection and improving that score from last time. So I try to be as meticulous as I can. I'm an engineer at the end of the day, so I'm a little nerd and geek about that. But I like it. What else can I say?
For the listeners that is not aware of this, Sacco and Tikka are also owned by the Beretta Group. So, Ricardo, tell me a little bit about that Sacco TRG there behind you. What caliber is it?
That's a 6.5 Creedmoor. That's basically what we would fall under the duty rifles type of product. So it's a sniper rifle basically. It's more oriented to the military market, but also it's sold on the civilian because it's still a bolt action rifles. There's a lot of, let's say, custom rifles that you can get nowadays with more features or probably better features, but that thing out of the box as it is just incredible. I've put probably a few hundred rounds through that one, and I've been to some PRS competitions. I started also doing that because I always like to get into competition to understand what is the high level duel, and I'm not afraid of showing to a competition and not performing to the top of the level in any other thing. I'm just there to learn. I have a good time, which is also part of the sport. So Sacco TRG, that's 6.5 Creedmoor, and as it is, that setup, it's incredible. I mean, it's like from 0 to 12 to 1,300 yards, depending on the conditions. It's just an absolute banger.
What grain bullets are you shooting through that rifle?
I've tried a lot, but I have to say the Sacco ammunition paired with that rifle, that's you don't need anything else. It's Sacco TRG ammo. It's 136 NRL Lapua bullets with Sacco brass. Very consistent. Last time I measured speed, we were getting an extreme spread of on one of the lots in particular. They're very narrow and they're very consistent, but we have had an extreme spread of 17 feet per second with the standard deviation of 6. So that's that's better than most reloaders, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like you have the rifle. We also own Steiner, so that's Steiner scope. So we also offer a very, let's say, complete package, and that's what I've been using. And then of course doing some positional shooting with the tripod. All that then translate into shooting game with BRX and everything. And so that's the Sacco. Then I also have a few Ticas, and I've always been a big fan of Sacco because to me it's and when it comes to the rifle side of things, they're always at the top in terms of quality and everything. They're not cheap rifles. So also when we were working on the BRX, it was like, how can we, we are not a direct competitor of Sacco, but we need to, have a product that it's going to be a standard, let's say, going in the future of, the price point and the quality. So I think we did a good job. The whole team did a good job, and our bosses were patient with us when they had to be, and we were patient with them when we had to be. But overall, the product is very good. So let's say we can also thank Sacco because it was also thanks to them that we did some things on the rifle, and we did collaborate in the initial stages, sharing some information and know-how. We learned a lot from them. We discovered that they also learned some things from us because simply not being a rifle manufacturer, we're taking some problems from a complete different approach that they would have never thought that was possible or never imagined. So there was let's say a good collaboration over there. But of course, after we launched the rifle, we're different companies, and at the end of the day, they're still not a direct competitor. Even if they're still under the Beretta holding, they're still a competitor at the end of the day. But total respect for these guys. They do an excellent job. That rifle it's unbelievable, and it's not a cheap rifle, but I would say that everything you get, every penny that you spend on that rifle, you're going to get it back from the returns and how it shoots. It's just incredible rifle.
Yeah, I've got a Tikka UPR on 6.5 Creedmoor, and that thing is super accurate. If my wife shoots with it, she'll shoot a single bullet hole grouping. When I shoot it, there'll be like a little deviation from a single bullet hole grouping. But that thing, I mean, the quality, and if you feel how smooth the bolt is when you open up that bolt, that's just insane to feel.
Yeah, it's the same with this. I have a Tikka right here. This is a very particular one. It's the Tikka Arctic with the iron sights. This is probably my favorite Tikka because those iron sights were designed for the Canadian Rangers, and they are just up to 500 yards. That's a 308 rifle. I think they make it also in 6.5 with the diopter type of optics that you have. You can change like the HK type of side optics. You can rotate the backside, so it will give you different elevations, and it's just incredibly accurate. It's like I use it. I take it to the range quite often because you just have fun shooting with iron sights. And so yeah, it's a lot of things. The thing is having the possibility also to not only work with Beretta but shoot these type of rifles and getting, let's say, ammunition at a better price, which is always a problem, at least for me, because ammunition is expensive. We can talk a lot, but ammunition is not cheap. Yeah. And it's also been something that I'm very grateful for.
I've prepared some questions that I quickly want you to answer. It's about 10 questions. Are you ready for it?
No, but do it.
What's your favorite animal to hunt?
Big game or small game?
No, it depends. Big game, you can say big game.
Buffalo.
Okay.
100%. It's a danger. It's a big question, but if I had to choose one animal to hunt for the rest of my life, buffalo, 100%. Okay, buffalo.
Your dream hunting destination?
I want to go to Namibia. Namibia, hunt in Namibia, and maybe some of the more let's say Namibia, Zimbabwe. I would like to go also a little bit on the jungle side of Africa, maybe a little bit up north, Uganda or Cameroon or Central African Republic. I don't know. It's difficult to know if you can go, how you can do it. It's also expensive. So those are my type of dream hunts.
What is your most valuable piece of hunting gear?
Piece of hunting gear, my head. So like everything else is, it's if the gear, I think it's what you make out of it. So it's important that as long as you have a somewhat adequate clothing, and you just keep back to basics and focus on the target, you're gonna have fun. I do see a lot of people that they get very complex about the gear and everything. I'd say that any of these rifles with a 1-5, 1-6 power scope, any, let's say, regular caliber 308, 306 is more than enough to take all the games that you have here, most of the games that you can find either in Africa, in Europe, and everything. Now, we can fine tune the equipment, get a better scope and everything, but I always say it's never going to be the fault of the equipment. Of course, the equipment plays a big role, but it's usually human fault. So if you take care and do everything by the book, so that's another thing. Always read the manuals. I was the first person, buying a firearm, taking the manual and throwing it away because, I'm a man. I don't need to read that. But, it's like take a little extra time, try to learn some things because it's also good. I mean, learning things is good for you. So I always say it's like everything you have in your head. And I've learned from very, let's say, big hunters and people from experience that it's not the equipment, it's what you make out of it. It's usually the guy with the ugly rifle that gets the better trophies than the new guy with all the fancy stuff. Now, technology helps, but if you know how to use it. So yes, gear is important, but it's more important also your mindset.
What's the most disgusting thing you've ever eaten?
Armadillo. Armadillo and turtle. That was in Venezuela. That was very disgusting. Turtle. I mean, okay. It was very bad. And we were eating, so being disrespectful was not an option in that occasion. So I had to put my best face and get on with it. But oh man, that was eating the turtle. And the worst thing is that I had the head of the turtle and one of the paws in my plate with rice. So I had to eat that. And I was just, I don't know how in hell I didn't puke because I've eaten a lot of things. I'm very, I've traveled all around the world and I'm not afraid of trying new stuff, but boy, this was really bad. I just couldn't. Yeah. And armadillo wasn't that.
What is your worst hunting experience you've ever had?
I don't know, man. It's like I always have fun having, let's say, in hunting. It's I've been very lucky. I've never had, let's say, any bad experience or things happen to us. Of course, it's like, it's like we've been stuck with the car and it takes us hours to get out of there and you go hunting or fishing and you don't get anything. But let's say, I wouldn't say it's like one of the worst times that I felt while hunting. I was chasing buffalo and I was super sick from the day before and I was just walking and puking the whole day. That was the thing. And I ended up shooting a buffalo. And then I basically, when we were just quartering the buffalo, I had to ask my dad, like, listen, I need to just sleep. And I lay down under a tree because I can't help it as I was done. That was probably one of the most rough experience that I had is like 10, 15 miles walking and puking and, getting dehydrated on water, walking in mud because we're hunting water buffalo. That was, it wasn't bad because I was happy I got the buffalo, but in the moment I wanted to die.
Was that the same trip you shot him with a 308?
Yeah, that was one of the, I can't remember if it was one. We went several times, but it was one of the first ones. Okay, I was very young, and actually I shot it with a Sacco. So it was a Sacco Finlight in 308.
And then can you leave a piece of wisdom for our audience?
Get out, go, leave your phone on the desk and go out in nature and explore and learn new things. That's it. learn, travel, and just reduce as much as possible your time screen and spending doing something with your family in the outdoors. That would be my only advice.
That's awesome, man. Ricardo, thanks for sharing that with me. And I think it was a great episode that we could share with our listeners, and especially to learn more about the history about the BRX and where you came from. I mean, it was amazing to hear how the difficulties you guys went through and what was the importance of designing that rifle, and to actually meet you back in 2022. That was amazing for me, and it helped my company to grow tremendously to be able to, that I was able to hang out with you guys that week, But it was awesome, man. And you guys will just keep on continuing what you guys are busy with. I mean, you guys are delivering top quality products, and just thanks again for making time today to chat with me.
No problem, man. Thanks for calling. Always happy to do that. I'm sorry. I mean, we could have spent here 5 hours talking about the rifle, but it's just, I think there's enough information and videos outside where you can see them. We have some new products coming in. I know right now in the US, but on the Italian side, there's a lot of development being done on the rifle. So stay tuned, because one last thing I forgot to mention: everything that we're going to make new, it's almost 95% is going to be compatible with the old version. So that's one of the other things. Like, you're going to be able to keep upgrading your rifles and shooting it. And thanks, man. I'm really appreciate that you are doing this, let's say, podcast with me. I hope all the listeners enjoyed some of our stories, even if they didn't have much to do with the BRX rifle, but it's always fun to chat with you.
Yeah, no, thanks again, man. Like I said, I appreciate it a lot, and hopefully we can sit next to a campfire, hopefully in the near future.
Oh yeah, it's you guys did a great job between you and Normark, South Africa. That was quite an experience, not only from the professional side, because I know we got a lot of good feedback from outside South Africa, let's say, to the entire world about that campaign that we did. And it also showed that the rifle was capable of doing many things. So it was thanks to your professionality and effort of not sleeping and going to work early and making it happen, and at the same time having a little bit of fun. That was a cool experience. So let's hope we can do that soon again.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. So guys, if you want to find out more about Ricardo, I'll mention his social tags in the descriptions. And stay tuned for the next episodes to come.